Beeline in his 10th season here at Michigan. Of course, you mentioned all the success he had at West Virginia. Kind of a lifetime coach. You know, Larry Brown's was in the audience earlier. Beeline's another guy you think about, just basketball lifer, coach.
The amazing thing about John Beeline, he's never been an assistant coach at the high school, junior college, D3, D2, certainly the D1 level.
Cheatham's got a really nice stroke and a little pressure from Tracy Carter there in the backcourt with Derek Watson Jr. handling the ball.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Oh, that's the second time they've gotten a roll of the basket. You know, the best position in the offense for Michigan is to be the 5-man, because they spread you out with 4 guys, and when they go pick and roll, it really is a problem. When a guy like that rolls, that's an offensive foul.
Nope.
Oh, they're going to call verticality, and they're going to say that the new rule this year, if you're in the offensive player space. Now, I've talked to referees who don't like this play. Let's watch. Now, let's see. He's legal. That is a bad call. Change that rule. That is a bad call, and it's not the official's fault. The idea is to give the offensive player room to turn, and that time he turned into the defender.
And a big second foul.
It is, and officials don't like that play. They've tried to put an offensive vertical cone in, and that's a bad play right there.
3-ball Marquette. Another good pass from Jawan Johnson. He set up Caden Reinhardt, who banged down the 3.
Now, if you're Marquette, you want to try to take Michigan out of their offensive rhythm like that. Get your hands up and deflect.
Marquette with the push.
That could have been a push off.
Yep, sure was. There was contact. Reinhardt gets the pick from Fisher out top, and he dumps it off, and we're going to have an offensive foul. Verticality. Why are we going with language like verticality?
Well, you know, they want to give the offensive player, they don't want the defender to be right up in his face.
Why not?
But that kid is so legal, it's not even funny. Change that rule.
Keep going. Go to break. Change that rule. Change that. Carl Ravitch back with Fran Fraschilla. I think if you can read lips with Michigan up 12-11, John Beeline is picked up where we left off, which is a change that rule. Change that.
No, he's saying, I just want to make basketball great again. You know? And listen, it's not the officials' fault in this case, because they have been told they've got a new rule in called verticality in the offense.
That's what this was about.
Right. This means that you got to let the offensive player pivot, and if there's any contact, even if the defender is stationary, then it has to be called a defensive foul. The idea is to not let defenders do this, right? When you catch it,
which didn't happen.
Which didn't happen. And I've talked to officials, and they said, we don't know exactly how to adjudicate this call. He's legal. There's nothing else this kid can do except play off from 10 feet. And
well, I mean, 3 or 4 feet.
3 or 4 feet. And, you know, that's not necessarily good defense, but that's what John Beeline was talking about. Remember, John Beeline was involved in a play with Manny Harris a few years ago. Remember that wicked elbow he threw on Chris Kramer of Purdue? So I love the idea of taking that play out of the game, but that's
easily legislated.
Yeah.
No elbows.
Yeah, that was
pretty good defense.
It's a very tough play to officiate when it's something that's they're not used to, because the defender was just in great position.
So Donnell stays in, and that shot misses. And there's a rebound now into the game. It's Sam Hauser. Sam Hauser wears number 10. Very good shooter. And he has the ball now.
Yeah, he reminds us of Steve Novak, doesn't he? Former Marquette star, played with Travis Diener and Dwayne Wade. He can shoot it.
And while they knew he was going to be good, they've even been surprised by how far he's come and how quickly he's come. Little jump hook fading away, and that doesn't go from Luke Fisher. Xavier Simpson on the floor now for Michigan. He wears 3. So Donnell now on underneath has been very solid, and so was Mo Wagner, who's gone to the bench.
Yeah, that's a nice 3-man group you have inside there with Darnell Wilson and now the young Wagner. Fade
away, and it's short. Individual effort by Muhammad Ali Abdur-Rahman. Alley-oop to Fisher.
Tough pass. Yep. Got to be pinpoint on that.
Almost over and back, almost.
Yeah, this young guy Simpson was the Ohio Player of the Year as a point guard, as was Trey Berg. But it's not easy for a freshman to come in and learn this sophisticated offense.
Dad was a coach at Lima High School. That three is off, so Michigan's gotten a little cold here after a on-fire start. And the game's starting to settle in. Bounce pass to Fisher, good hands and a good layup.
Yeah, it's the same thing on both ends. When you play 4 perimeter guys, the one big guy, when he screens and rolls, if those perimeter guys help inside, the 3 is open, so they're reluctant, Ravi, to leave their man.
Yep.
Got to disrupt their timing if you're Marquette.
Fisher follows Simpson, kicks it out to Wilson, 3.
Nice.
DJ Wilson bangs that in, and a good job and patience from Xavier Simpson.
Yeah, he really did. He went behind the basket, almost like a hockey player behind the net, you know, just like a Gretzky type move.
We could throw it way back. Bobby Orr used to start behind the net, circle, and go all the way down the other way. Yes.
Who?
Robert Gordon Orr. Boston Bruins. Google him. 15 all as we're underway in game 2 of this 2K Classic semifinal. Earlier, SMU beat Pittsburgh, so they're in the championship game. Donnell, why not? We've seen it all night. Big fella stepping out and shooting.
He can do that. And again, because you're worried about a guy like Wilson now at 6'11" who puts it on the floor.
Cheatham to the hole. Bounce pass along the baseline, but he stepped out, or a ball bounced out.
Yeah, this is what I call the Gretzky right here. Watch Simpson. Steve Nash made this famous. So did Chris Paul. You don't have to stop at the rim. You can keep going. It really throws off the help defense. You're helping on one side, and all of a sudden the ball's coming back to the other side.
Xavier Simpson, you mentioned Ohio Player of the Year. Once scored 59 and 65 points in a high school basketball game.
Yeah, Lima, Ohio, great tradition there.
Irvin jump step. A little too much, but Donnell working hard. And Hauser came in to block it.
Yeah, I know you're dropping those facts on me. I got some facts for you now.
What do you got?
Oh, I'm gonna just sit tight. I'm gonna give you some Fran's facts tonight.
We got Fran Nuggets, Fran facts?
Yeah, nuggets. Not chicken nuggets, not as tasty.
All right, so Donnell out, Wagner back in. We'll see if he can pick up the scoring. The big fellas have been huge for Michigan so far tonight. Wagner with 5 and Donnell with 7. Long 3 and a wide open 3. Good look. But Abdur-Rahman can't get it to go.
And that's not really his range. He's more of a slasher, mid-range. Really good going to the basket. Oh, he had him inside.
See how they do with Fisher on the bench for a while. Cheatham, nice cut, used his right hand and couldn't get it to go. Small lineup for Marquette on the floor right now.
Oh, good hustle.
Great hands. Oh, and he got hit. What an outstanding hustle play from Matt.
How about that?
That's Abdur-Rahman.
Snuck right in there, and then the finish. Take a look, young man from Allentown, Pennsylvania. Anticipates the steal. Reinhardt trying to make a hustle play, and a good finish. Good concentration.
Good read. Abdur-Rahman. We'll come back. Oh, the most interesting man of mystery.
He's in the building.
Is he sitting next to me?
Maybe. All right, Ravi, I'm going to educate you a little bit. November 17th, what happened on this day? By the way,
what is that?
Take a look. Madison Square Garden, one of only 2 arenas without corporate sponsorship, the Palace at Auburn Hills. Today, in 1940, Green Bay was the first NFL team to travel by plane. Britney Spears She got her started today, youngest ever. And how about this?
Oh.
This is for you, man.
Deep thought.
It takes 17 muscles in a face to make a smile. So would you smile tonight?
I'm always smiling.
Okay. All that on the 17th of November. Happy 17th to you.
Thank you very much. You too.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You would think that the score would be 17-all, but it's not.
Can't have everything.
It's 2015. Xavier Simpson's been a nice player for Michigan, and Steve Wojciechowski has gone small. Now quick break, and they're back with Luke Fisher on the floor. When Fisher went down earlier this season, he had labrum surgery on his left shoulder. There was a collective hold your breath, and this was like record-setting hold your breath. He went to the locker room. They were really worried that left shoulder had been re-injured, and he might be out for a while. Obviously not. He's back, but that's like an indispensable part of this team.
No question. They have a lot of depth in the backcourt, but up front they do not, and they will need this guy in the Big East. And that's a point of emphasis this year. They're not going to let those post players to spin and lift their pivot foot. An easy call to make.
6 turnovers for Marquette. Now, in our first game, we talked about Tim Jankovich's concerts. Now, are you a Britney Spears fan? Is that why you went that?
Who? No, I'm not. I can tell you I do not have any of her 8 tracks.
8 tracks?
Yeah, no 8 tracks. No cassettes either.
Robinson bangs a 3 from the corner. They're on a 9-0 run, and Michigan's opened up a 9-point lead.
Well, you know the story about Duncan Robinson. He was an All-American as a freshman at Williams.
Think about that. Division III
Yes.
college.
Yep.
I'll say this about Williams College, George
Yes.
Steinbrenner.
Yes, I know.
And one of the great golf courses on a college campus ever.
How about that? There's the offensive foul, an easy call to make. Caden Reinhardt should know better. He's been at 3 different schools. He ought to know that that's an offensive foul.
7 turnovers now for Marquette. That's not a way they're going to win a game. They got to take care of the ball and hit their outside shots. Walton Jr. steps into one. He can't get it to go, and an opportunity, and Marquette loses it. A little sloppy start right now for Marquette. Juwan Johnson had it and started looking up the floor before he had the ball.
You know, Duncan Robinson, to finish that story, Stan Van Gundy is the reason this kid is at Michigan, because he hired Jeff Bauer, who was the coach at Marist, to come back and be the general manager. Well, Mike Maker, the coach at Williams, then became the coach at Marist, a Division I school.
Sure.
So he said, look, you might be able to play Division I. As a good pass right there. And so the kid transferred to Michigan from a Division III school, and he's a great shooter. The one issue you have with him, he's not a great defender, and now teams know he's such a good shooter. They're not going to give him the open look. But to come from D3 to be a starter in the Big Ten last year, pretty good.
And received a major scholarship.
That's right.
Which is another big part of that deal.
Yep. Probably some of my worst nightmares as a head coach was my first 4 years at Manhattan when John Beilein was at Canisius.
Right.
Trying to guard this offense because it is so intricate, and he's such a believer in teaching fundamentals. And you know, talking to the Michigan people today, I heard a great line I never heard before. You play at Michigan, it's like going to camp for 12 months a year because they're always teaching.
Basketball camp.
Basketball
Not
camp.
fun.
Yeah.
Let's go on a sailboat.
Yeah. Lakewood at Pisagi camp. No, basketball camp.
Cheatham had it partially blocked, and Fisher is there for the finish. Marquette's got to figure out a way, right, trying to stop the penetration and the entry passes to the big boys down low.
Well, they spread you out, and it allows those big guys to get loose inside. You'll see, you know, once again, those bigs go to the rim, and if you help, that's what happens. If you help on the bigs and you suck in the defense, then Duncan Robinson gets the open shot from the corner.
Dunkin' Donuts right now. He brings another 3 in. Not going to exchange threes with this team. Johnson.
That's a charge.
Fisher gets it to go. He's been a one-man wrecking crew down low for Marquette. They're exchanging threes for twos. You're going to end up losing by a lot.
See, they'll read over plays and just backdoor cut.
A lot of contact, and they call it on Duncan Robinson, who ran over Fisher.
Well, he's trying to expand his game and put it on the floor, but this is really what he does best. The drive and drift. And look at that swan neck. That is just textbook shooting right there from a young man that can really light it up from deep.
Swan neck, the follow through with the shooting hand.
You hold that hand down and it looks like a swan.
Johnson went to the hole. They're going to get a foul on Fisher. That's only his first with 9 minutes to go here in the first half. Tell you, early snapshot of Marquette, though, with the size they have and the ability of guys like Robinson to shoot from the outside. It's a pretty good combination with the inside-outside game.
And if you think about it, at Michigan, since John Beilein's been there, he's really never had a plethora of big guys. Right. He's had to play Zach Novak at the 4, Glenn Robinson at the 4. Now he's got a developing young big guy in Wilson, plus Wagner and Donnell.
Robinson went back cut. Hauser got his hands on it, and it's a turnover. See if Hauser can get open for a 3.
Not as easy when you know that's what he does well. They grab at him quickly.
Still 10 on the shot clock. Johnson drives, can't get it to go. The rebound, Robinson looks to push. Duncan Robinson to the hole. He got hit hard.
Well, you like seeing that from Duncan Robinson because you know he's going to shoot that 3 at the line. And when they close out quickly, he's able to get to the rim. Good ball movement by Zach Irvin.
That story you told about how Robinson ended up at Michigan was like 17 degrees Marist, coach.
Absolutely. Mike Maker's an outstanding coach, building a program up at Marist. And you know, I remember him in high school. I saw him at a couple of elite camps, and nobody really had him pegged as a Division I player. Even some of the Ivy League schools passed on him.
Hey, Big Ten doubleheader Saturday, ESPN, noon Eastern. It's ranked number 2 now, Ohio State. They're in East Lansing. They get Michigan State. And then at 3:30, the Hoosiers in Ann Arbor to battle Michigan. So you get your 2 and 3, Ohio State and Michigan, both games streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN.
If Ohio State wins out, I don't care if Wisconsin or Penn State wins the Big Ten title. They are going to the playoff. Right now, they're the second best team in the country.
Cheatham, looked like a good block from Robinson, but they get the foul maybe with the body. Yeah, there is sort of a nightmare scenario in which Penn State at least will ask players, if they do win the Big Ten championship, argue to the hilt that they belong in. But there's so much stuff that happens between now and then. That's sort of the beauty of the of the playoff system, is you get these 4 teams and then the arguments about 5, 6, and yet there's so many games that got to be played. And usually things clean themselves up. Yeah. Not always, but usually.
I'm a big fan of this young man, Honey Cheatham, at the foul line, only a sophomore. And Steve Wojo told us a great story today. First time he called him, he left a message, and the kid said, "Oh, wow, Duke's recruiting me." "No, I left. I went to Marquette." He was so excited thinking that Duke was recruiting him because Wojo called him. But they developed a relationship right off the bat, and he had a great freshman year.
Great story.
Yep.
Hey, honey, this guy, Steve Wojciechowski, just called me.
Oh, wow,
Duke wants me. Well, they hit it off, and Honey is a very intense guy, and as you can see, and as we all saw from Wojo when he played, was on the Duke bench and banging that hardwood floor. He wasn't one of those that you looked at and said, boy, Wojo's really having a good time out here, and yet he's now gone up to Cheatham and said, hey, bud, we can have a smile. We can have some fun out here, too.
Yeah. Steve had a great career. I saw him in high school. Never thought he could play at Duke when I first saw him. So he turned out to be a great ACC player. And he's got great energy. We watched practice the last couple of days, and he's got great command of his team. It's a young team. They've got big guys coming in next year, 3 of them. Biggest thing for Golden Eagle fans is just stay patient.
Yeah.
He's got a staff of young guys. I see Travis Diener on the far left.
Look at their socks, too.
Yep.
I mean, that's sort of the youth movement.
Yeah, Chris Carrawell played at Duke. Brett Nelson started, Florida. Stan Johnson, very good assistant coach.
You get a good 5-on-5 team if you.
Yeah, but just like their team, all guards.
Yeah, exactly. Ball deflected out, and they'll turn it back to Michigan.
John Beilein's got to be pleased with his defense. That was a major bone of contention coming into the season.
For any 8 turnovers for Marquette, a team usually you'd figure would take care of the ball.
And give Michigan a little credit. You know, they've been up and pressured and done a good job.
Tough pass to hold, but it stays in. And Abdul Rahman able to make the interior shot.
That's his game. When you give him a little bit of daylight, he is going to get into the painted area. See that overplay and then they can switch, and they love Wilson's ability to play different positions.
Lead goes to 12. Wilson, good ball fake, but he comes up way short. Fisher works hard, but it goes out of bounds. Michigan's got a 12-point lead. They're shooting 61% from the field, 11 for 18. And we will go old school, Division 1, 2, and 3 when we come back. We're back. Fran Fraschilla, Carl Ravitch, Michigan over Marquette, 32-20, 7:18 to go in this first half. The 2K Classic semifinal game. We saw SMU win earlier. So old school. Where's the old school part of it? We got young coaches on Marquette. We got new kind of sock. Oh, I see. Short shorts.
Oh yeah. Show some skin there.
Shorties.
Big fella. It's going with the old school John Stockton's right there.
DJ Wilson hiking him up at 7'3" wingspan.
Listen, the way he's playing, you see Donnell with the longer shorts, the Fab Five style. The way DJ Johnson has started this year, I don't think John Beilein cares a bit, because he's been improved. He can guard 4 or 5 spots. He's rebounding, gotten stronger.
DJ Wilson. Middle name inspired by the way, Jalen Rose. That's where the J comes from. Of course, one of the Fab Five members. Looks like they're going to get a foul on Reinhardt. Anytime you got a player with his hands on his head walking around like that, whistle was on me.
And with the new rules and the emphasis on freedom of movement, it really helps a team like Michigan, where the ball doesn't stick. It goes side to side. All 5 guys touch it. So in order to be effective offensively, this is a good rule for a team like Michigan that values that kind of movement.
Third foul there. So Reinhardt goes to the bench, the graduate student. Came from USC. He played 2 years there. He actually started this whole college basketball stuff as UNLV as a freshman.
Yep, at a modern day high school. Produced so many great players. Take a look right here.
It's a pretty good sell job by Rahman. He seemed to initiate the contact.
Rahman went to Allentown Catholic Central, and I recruited out of there a long time ago a guy named Billy McCaffrey. Let's see. I don't know who they called a foul on Reinhardt. I don't know what they were seeing. This has been somewhat inconsistently officiated this half compared to that first game. That was not a foul. I didn't see it until just there.
Rahman sold it like he had been elbowed.
Yeah.
And he got the officials to buy into it.
You know this young man, Christian McCaffrey? Of course, you followed him this year. His father, Ed. Ed and Billy McCaffrey from the same high school that this young man played. What I love about this guy, he wasn't offered a scholarship until late in his senior year, and really wasn't heavily recruited. And that to that point, John Beilein is not worried about rankings. It's about guys that fit his system. He's had some really good players at Michigan, but you have to be able to be a high IQ guy and figure out the offense and read the defense, and he does.
Watch Andrew Rousey. He's number 30 for Marquette. He's another sharpshooter from 3.
Look who's guarding him.
And Hauser. So they got the 2 3-point shooters on the floor at the same time, Hauser and Rousey, and they couldn't get that one to go.
That is an easiest shot as Hauser's had in his first 3 games.
Marquette's going to be careful here. They're down 14. They're watching Michigan go on a 19-5 run. And Irvin rises and splashes one down. And Wojciechowski knows it. Down 36-20. The screens, the picks, the wide open inside, and knocking down jumpers outside. Wolverines feeling it right now. We're back. Michigan in a huddle, up 36-20. Marquette already back on the floor. Last bucket by Irvin.
We talk about reading the defense. I want you to watch. Freeze it, guys. Freeze it. See, he usually back cuts, but because the defender is inside, he goes a second route to the top, and that's what we mean when we talk about reading the defense. A lot of these Michigan cuts give you two routes, one way or the other, and depending on where the defender goes, you just go opposite. Perfect example of a senior reading the defense in John Beilein's system.
And another turnover, and that's number 9 for Marquette. Alley-oop, open, but unable to hold on, but look, it ends up right in the hands of Mark Donnell. Michigan is, and using another football term,
hey, you know what?
Exerting their will here.
Yeah, you know why I missed that, DJ Wilson? His shorts are too tight.
10 turnovers for Marquette, and they're getting blown out.
Well, as good as the offense has been for Michigan, it's been all about Michigan's defense. A year ago, they were not very good on the defensive end of the floor. You can see the improvement that they've made and played in this first half.
Steve Wojciechowski is just basically wholesale subbed 4 players in. This was a 15-15 game at one point. On a 23-5 run, Michigan. And the defense from Marquette has led a lot of easy shots. Donnell that time got some trouble from Held. And Cheatham goes the other way and lays it in. That time Matt Held made life a little tougher for Mark Donnell, but those shots have fairly been uncontested inside.
And you see a little bit of sense of urgency right there, but that's too easy.
Way too easy.
Yep. Freshman Marcus Howard. Yep.
Not going to be happy with his D.
No, and you know, the freshman was trying to really show the coach he was going to pressure the ball, but he pressured so hard it just allowed Abdul Rahman to get to the basket.
Contact underneath. We're going to go the other way. Donnell drew the charge. Another turnover for Marquette. Back to back to back women's basketball champions. On our air again Sunday, number 3 UConn, Baton Rouge to battle LSU at the Pete Maravich Center. 5:30 Eastern Time, ESPN. It streams live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN.
How about that?
That's mighty impressive. UConn, after a scare to Florida State, goes back at home and wins again. Their 50th straight win at home and 77th consecutive win overall. So UConn, rare to be picked anything but 1. Starts the season as a 3 without Breanna Stewart. And the multiple time, as we said, back-to-back-to-back national champions get an impressive win at home tonight over Baylor.
You know, last year I said I couldn't watch some of those games they played throughout the tournament because they were up 40, 50 points. Yeah. And no offense to them because their excellence speaks for itself. But I just think, you know what I would do, and I know I'm going to get into Title IX issues here. The women have 15 scholarships. If you really want parity, and I get it, you know, you wanted to reward the women for all those years that they didn't have a chance to compete at the NCAA level. Take those 2 scholarships and put them at other women's sports, and let's get back to 13 scholarships for everybody so that good players don't sit on the benches of teams like Baylor and South Carolina and UConn.
Spread it around.
Spread them out. Spread it out. It happened on the men's side, and I think we've got greater parity than ever. I don't want to shortchange any young lady from getting a scholarship to college.
Right. Well, to their credit, though, the scholarships, perhaps the dominance of the programs from Tennessee to UConn. I mean, the game now, especially when you see UConn have company with Baylor, LSU, who will see Florida State play. It is a more healthy game.
Yeah,
than it's been. There's a foul underneath, and Marquette continues to have trouble inside. Call that on Jawan Johnson.
I said earlier in the game, the best position in this offense is the 5-man, because when you put 3 and 4 shooters on the perimeter, and he sets the screen and rolls to the rim, the help has either got to guard him or guard the shooter. And if they don't guard him, he's going to get what he's getting right now, which is to the line or a basket.
Donnell's free throw is good. You got Donnell out there and DJ Wilson. You're looking at a 6'10" Wilson. And in Donnell, you're looking at a guy that's 6'9", 240. We haven't seen Wagner in a little while. He's 6'11". They get some trees.
Yep, and he's got a couple of freshmen. One they may redshirt. Teskey's already played, the 7-footer out of Medina, Ohio, and then Austin Davis, a local kid not far from Ann Arbor. They're going to redshirt at 6'10", 240.
6'10", 240. Austin Davis got a size 18 shoe. Anytime you shoe, he's over like size 12. You're a giant, but 18, you can house people in those.
You got a size 18, you got to go to the outlet warehouse for your Nikes or Under Armour.
You don't shop big and tall. There's an extra large big and tall. Cheatham can't get it to go. Rebound from Wilson.
Right now, Marquette's trying to get it all back with one shot. They can't do that.
Good follow by Donnell. They're just too big, and Wojciechowski must know it. 46-24.
Well, and what they've done is they've baited Marquette into quick shots.
Fisher does his work, and he can't get it to go. And you had 4 guys from Marquette out past the three-point line when Fisher shot that.
Oh, no.
When Fisher went for that layup, Fran, all 4 perimeter guys were literally outside the perimeter. If it didn't go in, there was no way that Michigan was not going to come up with it. John Beilein's got a team that he knows is good. It's a question of how quickly can they grow. You know, they're almost all 7 feet right now, up big.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Lowe's and Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends. Please enjoy Dos Equis responsibly.
Coming up on the Land Rover Halftime Report, Jay, Seth, and myself. Good news for Michigan football fans. We have a college football shocker. It's one of the teams in the top 5. Plus, Georgetown, speaking of shockers, losing at home to Arkansas State.
The hardest playing, toughest team finds a way to win. Georgetown was not that team.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Villanova. I thought they were one of the hardest working teams in America.
Well, that's the next game.
There we go.
That was a tough one for Villanova today. Also a real tough one for Xavier in the Big East. That's coming up at the hat. Ready?
Highlights of Nova's 76-65 win. Xavier a 1-point win. I thought somebody told me Louisville was like losing 27. That's the football team.
Football, yeah. Yeah.
Basketball team had no problem tonight.
They didn't get the Houston game plan in time. That's a joke.
Now that's just cold. They didn't get the game plan in time. Really?
Did I say that?
Somebody did.
I did. I did.
All Michigan here against Marquette.
That's a trap.
It's a walk.
Yep.
Frustration continues for Marquette.
That is a perfect example of what I said a play ago. They're so impatient that they're looking for the 24-point play. See the slide back and forth? And that happened with the quick shot by Fisher when there was no rebounding presence, as you pointed out. But the defense by Michigan's been outstanding.
Get it to Donnell. He could swing it or take it himself, and he decides to go to the corner for the 3. That one hit the backboard, and Fisher picks up the loose ball.
And I thought Donnell should have made the extra pass.
Yeah.
He hesitated. By the time it came back to Watson, Watson was guarded.
Xavier Simpson called for the foul as he cut off Cheatham.
This is a good opportunity with this lead to play with these young guys, Watson and Simpson. They've had some guys leave the program. Obviously, Karis LeVert off to the NBA. Spike Albrecht, he'll be playing for the Boilermakers. And Aubrey Dawkins went. He transferred to Central Florida. You kind of get that because he's going to play for his dad, Johnny Dawkins, down there.
Are there some you kind of don't get?
No, not really. Big Ricky Doyle has gone back home to Florida, where I think he can play more. Florida Gulf Coast, play for Joe Dooley. And then the youngster Chapman, I think he went to Detroit with Bakari Alexander, who left his staff. So that happens sometimes.
Yep.
I don't think it's anything John Beilein's doing wrong.
Xavier Simpson sets it up to Watson, who throws a high arcing shot in the bottom of the basket.
And that's exactly what I talked about. Simpson and Watson can be out here and play a little looser as they learn this intricate offensive system. You don't have to worry about a mistake with a 24-point lead.
Cheatham decides to go himself, and access denied on the big block there by DJ Wilson. It's a hard one to watch because it feels like it's Fisher, one big guy against 5.
Yeah, but honestly, it's been really good defense all the way. Now, this kid Wilson, John Beilein raved about him to us today. It's his 3rd year in the program. He had a knee injury as a freshman. They just love the fact that he's finally embracing, you know, what he should be, which is an energy guy. If you're this athletic, look at this. If you're that athletic, Ravi, and you can run like he does, that's not a good decision, but that's okay when you have a 24-point lead. You take a kid like DJ Wilson with a 7'3" wingspan, and he's athletic, and he runs, and he plays with energy. He doesn't have to score or make threes, which is what he wanted to do early in his career.
This is a kind of a take notice game, though, for the other teams in the Big Ten, isn't it, to see the combination of size, shooting ability for Michigan?
Well, Michigan, think about Michigan. The last 3 years, they've had everybody hurt. They've had about 130-plus games of man experience out with injuries. So you got healthy guys, you got more depth, big guys are improving, and they're in a good system.
The offense for Marquette has been to get the ball to Fisher and hope he makes the basket. If he misses, it's coming back the other way. Xavier Simpson got trapped and he walked.
They might have got him for a charge.
Did they?
Yep. And that's that verticality deal again, and that time he invaded the defender's space.
Your point's well taken, though, Beilein, here as you take a look at the verticality rule.
You'll see now, watch him just lean into to Carter. Could have been a travel or a charge. I would have called it travel personally, the way he just fell down.
Beilein, though, on the sideline, you mentioned it. You got a 24-point lead, and as you said, it's like going to basketball camp 52 weeks out of the year. He does have the ability now in this league to talk to those young kids.
Yeah. He's only done this about 40 years. And the one thing that we got out of the shoot-around today, and I've known this because I've known John a long time, there's never a time where he's not teaching.
Yeah.
And today, the shoot-around looked like going to basketball camp, right? When you were in 4th grade?
Yeah, exactly. But I got a lot more than just one thing out of it. I also got that, like everybody, it seems, even here, they're all Cardinals baseball fans. He grew up on an apple farm listening to Jack Buck and Cardinal baseball.
I wonder if he was a Mike Shannon fan.
I'm sure. It's a big 3 from another.
Flood, Lou Brock.
All your Cardinals.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
Red Shane Dean, Stan the Man. He used to get in his car and drive to the highest hill in the area just to bring the radio signal in.
You know the only time he's been an assistant coach? He was an assistant coach to Bob McKillop on the World University Games team. Johnson
gets that to go. Juwan Johnson. Time runs down in the first half, though, and it's a big-time Michigan advantage, 48-26. Talk about balanced scoring for Michigan, too. Abdur Rahman with 9, Donnell 13, Robinson with 7. There's a steal, and now a foul on Johnson, and that, in a nutshell, has been the first half for Marquette. Good hustle by Johnson, poked it loose, and then did the damage with the foul. I'm going to be really anxious to see the first 4 minutes of the second half for Marquette, because we're talking about the 3rd game of the season with a lot of new faces. See how they respond, whether they win this game or not. I want to see what the effort's going to be to start the second half. Abdur Rahman now double digits with 10. Remember, this was a 15-15 game at one point, and now we got 50. That's 35-11 for those of you scoring at home, as Michigan has outscored Marquette. And interestingly, John Beilein used a timeout here
use it or lose a timeout. It gives Marquette a chance to draw up something, but it also gives John Beilein a chance to continue to do what we've talked about in this first half, teach. You see Billy Donlin in the background. He is the former head coach at Wright State University, 6 years, and he's become the unofficial defensive coordinator.
Yep.
And based on what we've seen over 20 minutes, I'd say so far so good. You see how talkative Billy Donlin is in that huddle.
Well, John, of course, has been known forever as an offensive-minded coach.
Yep, no question. I can speak to that because guarding his team's offense was very, very challenging. And you look at the Big Ten, Ravi, Indiana is playing really well. We expect Michigan State to get the ship righted. Purdue.
Very good. Swan is an animal.
Absolutely. Size inside with Haas as well. Maryland with a big win over Georgetown.
Wisconsin.
Yep, absolutely. And Northwestern almost knocked off Butler on the road last night.
So if you play for the Wolverines, your last name has to start with W. Watson, Walton, Wilson, and Wagner. Although it's pronounced Wagner. Cheatham gets the pick and then runs into it, and he throws up a three, and it's no good. That's the way it went for Marquette as Wojciechowski heads back to the locker room with a lot to talk about. Not the way the first half was supposed to go for Marquette. Certainly the way it was supposed to go for Michigan. It's 50-26, and we are set to send it back to our studio. The Land Rover halftime report. Chris Hassel, the coach, and Jay Williams. Guys, it's yours. For Schiller, Carl Ravitch here. Thanks to the guys back in the studio, Chris, Seth, and Jay. Very one-sided game. Michigan, it was 15-15, and they outscored them 35-11. They lead 50-26. Easy to focus on the offense when you get 50 points, and Donnell and the others all shot very well, but defense played a big role in this too.
If I'm a Michigan fan, the first thing I'm looking at is, can we defend this year? They've had injuries. They didn't really have people who were committed to it. And but I thought this first half they were outstanding. DJ Wilson is a handful because he can guard so many different positions. But they were tuned in and locked in. And what they did, Ravi, is they forced Marquette to speed up and take tough shots and turn it over.
Yeah. Two turnovers for Marquette.
You know what happens, right? When you get this lead like this, you use all 17 of those facial muscles so that you can smile.
There you go. And the guy in the back smiling.
Oh yeah, everybody's smiling in maize and gold.
51 muscles being used there.
Maize and blue. Did I say maize and gold?
So Donnell ends up with 13 in the first half, and Abdul Rahman goes for 11. Zach Irvin has 9. They shot 59% in the first half. You said it, the first couple of minutes going to be critical to see how Marquette comes out of the halftime.
Correct. As a coach, it's a long season, and what you want to do right now is, are your guys going to compete?
No, that's not a good start. Yep. Another turnover. 13 in the game for Marquette. You heard Seth and Jay talk about how they expected Wojciechowski to approach the halftime speech.
Well, there's, you know, what I used to do was that when they thought I would be mad and upset and yell, was when I didn't yell.
You went understated.
You went understated because you're still teaching, and it's a young team. That's nice. That is nice from Wagner. Looking like Porzingis in here.
Wagner started off like a house of fire, and then he came out of the game after scoring 5 quick points. They brought Donnell in. He ended up being the leading scorer in the first half. Carter launches
that's just, see, that's a jack. That's what we call a jack. You don't jack a shot up off one pass. This might deteriorate into me doing some UV for you before too long.
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
We need some more Fran facts. There's a steal from Johnson.
Now be on the attack, but get good shots and good ball movement.
Cheatham to the hole. He'll find Carter. We're going to have another walk.
I said this to you during the shoot-arounds today, and we saw this from SMU and from Michigan. We spent so much time on footwork that our kids would get bored. And I would say to them every day during practice, don't get bored if you're getting better. And I would say, hey, Ravi, when's the last time you traveled? Coach, I haven't traveled this year. Yeah, no fooling, because this is why we do those footwork drills.
As you've learned.
Yes.
Wagner bringing rain.
But you got to educate your feet.
Well, you know that Marquette will be better than they've shown tonight as that 3-ball misses. But there is a size differential that makes you feel like you're watching, you're watching a more mature, better basketball team on one end than the other team. They just look better in every way.
Well, Zach Irvin is healthy. Derek Walton is a senior as well. They played in the Elite Eight. There are some veterans out there. And then we've seen the young guys step up tonight. Donnell's a senior. This is one of those moments as a coach, if you're John Beilein, you're saying, okay, we're getting it. We're improving. It's a good feeling.
Nothing comes easy for Marquette. They spent the first half getting it into Fisher. And look where the 4 Marquette players are. Now Cheatham goes in, but otherwise 3 guys on the outside with no even thought of an offensive rebound if Fisher were to miss.
And this allows Michigan to really be in a rhythm offensively with this lead. You'll see a lot of touches, a lot of ball movement.
The size, the length of Michigan, too. It shows itself on the offensive end for Michigan. The baskets have come fairly easy. That's a walk. Remind everybody the back-to-back-to-back-to-back. That's 4 of them. Women's basketball champs. UConn against LSU. The Lady Huskies get a win tonight in a big game over Baylor. They do that at home, extend their win streak to 77. We'll take on LSU, the Lady Tigers, at the Maravich Center, 5:30 Eastern Time, ESPN. And it also streams live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. Now that time, as I was reading that, you got a chance to watch Big Luke Fisher get the ball down low, get fouled, and make the basket. So Wagner out and Donnell now in.
A year ago, this team had Henry Ellenson, who was an outstanding freshman and 18th pick of the first round of the Detroit Pistons. By the way, he's playing in the D-League, but he is obviously making a good living. And while it was great for him to sign and be a one and done, that kind of upsets the continuity of what you're trying to do as you're trying to build a winning and stabilized program.
And Wojciechowski told us, the way that they recruit, and he's done a good job of it, but they tend, and here's the steal and what will be a Johnson slam. 7-0 run, Marquette. How they have to recruit versus the Michigans, or where Wojo came from, Duke, is you're looking for that sort of sub-1, the 1A, if not a 2-player, and hope they blossom, if you will, to become a 1A, 1-type player. They're just harder to find.
I agree. And Ravi, you know what? Michigan really is in the same boat. They don't get, by and large, the All-American guys. They get the Zach Irvins and the Nick Stauskases. But to your point, and when you do that, it takes 3 or 4 years to develop the program. And it took John Beilein the same amount of time.
They need, as he said, players, we need to get old together.
That's a great point. You got to get old. And getting old is not a fun experience for a coach.
No walk on a game which we've seen a lot of travels called. No walk called there as Abdur Rahman now picks up his 13th point.
Now, speaking of old, this young man with the ball, who had the ball, Marcus Howard, he's 17 years old. Played on the gold medal winning USA under-18 team that won in Chile.
He wears 0. He's... Yeah, you said, all right, Fred, travel or no? I know where we're going.
All right.
Travel.
We have the benefit of...
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
My God.
No, that's Arthur Murray right there. That's not a travel. That's Arthur Murray.
Wrestling place, just like Madison Square Garden, just like anything in New York. And Michigan right now with a comfortable 57-33 lead over Marquette. Look who we found, another Scott Van Pelt, team doctor for Michigan. And Marquette. Like a pose for Marquette, I should say. Right, they're the same guy right there. No, right. Almost froze the...
No, actually what happened is SVP resigned today to become an assistant coach.
I saw a tweet like that.
And right now he's in charge of recruiting big men. Because the big men will be on the way next year. Marquette's team doctor.
Scott Van Pelt's everywhere.
I can't relate to that, you know.
How are his Terps going to be this year?
Terps young, and Melo Trimble's going to have a terrific year. Really good freshman class. Kevin Herter, Justin Jackson, and my favorite, Anthony Cowan, point guard out of DC. You know, Melo Trimble's on his way to being like the second or third all-time leading scorer there.
Yeah, which, given Maryland's history,
yeah.
Think about the people that are paraded through there.
Exactly, and everybody thinks he's not a success because he's not in the NBA. I'm mesmerized by DJ Wilson's shorts. And if he keeps playing the way he's playing, it's okay by me. Like right there. That's what he does. That's what he does. Yep, that'll make him a little bit of money someday. I don't want to say he's an NBA player yet, but
got a Rodman build to him, doesn't
yeah, 6'11".
Fisher battling Donnell, and that's going to go the other way to Michigan. All right, Coach, so we talked about how, wow, and there's a Bill Raftery.
Bill Raftery's in with the little kiss.
Pelton and Raftery at the game tonight. Not talking to each other, though.
Oh.
That's good.
I just remember what Coach Al McGuire once told me, don't trust the priests. Oh, boy. I'm going to get in trouble now. Al McGuire, what a great man.
Pretty play.
Yes.
Now goes to his left hand to avoid the block.
So this has been vintage Michigan. And, again, quick shot, trying to get it all back at once.
Saw Derek Walton Jr. look up the floor and say, no, we're not going to take that. We'll take that instead.
And that's what DJ Wilson came to Michigan as, a stretch 4 or 5. And if you rebound and play defense like he has, you let him take some perimeter. Look at him guarding Reinhardt.
Reinhardt short. Fisher battles. Nearly blocked by your guy Wilson there at the rim.
Luke Fisher, the Indiana transfer, he had to kind of take a back seat to Ellenson last year, but had some injuries, as you mentioned earlier. But good player, good low post player, good fundamentals.
Fisher's got 15 points tonight. No one else has more than 8 on the team. And he has taken the majority of their shots.
Yeah, remember, we're watching Wilson and Wagner. They're only sophomores.
Right.
You know, Wagner's not in right now, but
just shows you what they have the ability to do, though. Had they at some point needed it, you can throw Wagner out there with Wilson, who's going up for an offensive rebound.
look at that.
Fighting for it, he stepped out of bounds. But you got Wilson, Donnell, and Wagner. It's a pretty good threesome up front as we go inside the play. It's driven by Continental Tire.
It's about DJ Wilson's energy tonight. You know, watch him guard a 6'6" guy. Stays on his feet. Now they know he's been able to guard these kind of players all season. And then the challenge and good effort.
Howard's 3, no good. Very poor shooting tonight, too, that's compounding this for Marquette.
I want to hear a great stat about Wilson. He got more rebounds in the first 2 games than he did all last season. 22.
Marquette 1 of 7 from three-point land tonight. Fisher falls as Walton continues to dribble. Bachman step. Every time you see that move, Fran, it's resulting in a travel. Now, was that once not a travel? Because so many players seem to do the same thing.
Let me tell you what happens, and I've talked to officials about this. They have to get used to watching the feet again. Officials, you know, for whatever reason, they said, you know, we're watching bodies inside. And when you don't watch the feet, obviously a lot of people get away with the advantage of moving your feet. And there's young man Marcus Howard we talked about, Arizona, 17 years old. He's not going to turn 18 until next June, I believe.
Doak Azubuike, who's we've seen from Kansas, still 17.
How about that? Yeah. And Svi Mikhailuk is only 19, and he's a junior.
Early on in this college basketball season, has there been a team that has either blown you away, being better than you thought?
Well, I think Indiana's win over Kansas, and then the way they played last night, they impressed me because they're so good offensively. There's an easy one. That didn't happen much tonight. That stands out to me.
As you see, Michigan State and Duke. So we know you said Duke's the best team in the country.
Yeah.
More importantly, since we know what Duke is, what is Michigan State going to be this year?
Well, a lot of it depends on whether big fella Gavin Schilling comes back and whether they can get Ben Carter, the transfer, back. They don't have a lot of size inside. Right. Davis left for the NBA, and they got a lot of young players on the perimeter. Work in progress.
Marquette work in progress. It's a little 13-4 run to start. We will look deeper into the Big Ten as we continue from the Garden. And for Sheila Carl Ravitch, ESPN's basketball season just getting underway. Look at the Big Ten, 7 teams into the NCAA tournament. Denzel Valentine. And one of the reasons we watched Michigan State struggle is, of course, you lose the guy that was considered by many the best player in the country. Nigel's back, so's Thomas Bryant for Indiana and Wisconsin, and Miles Bridges, part of the freshman blue chip class that helped make up the Big Ten. Bridges certainly announced his presence with some authority in his first game in Hawaii. We saw him struggle the other night. But the Big Ten, as you're watching Michigan, you do wonder if those other schools that we mentioned sort of going to break, or wondering just how good this team can get and where they fit in the landscape. Yeah, and they have not been at their best the last couple of years, in part to injuries to guys like, Karis LeVert and Walton and Zach Gervin, Mitch McGarry a few years ago. I'll tell you who's played well early is Illinois, and Malcolm Hill with a 40-point performance. He's not underrated in the Big Ten by any stretch, but certainly around the country. That performance will make some people take more notice. John Gross's team finally healthy. Yeah. Who handles the ball for Indiana as good as they were? Well, in Honolulu, that's going to be a question. Yeah, I watched him practice a few weeks ago. Everybody handles the ball. Yeah, they do. And when that happens, much like this team with this offense, if everybody can handle it, you don't need a point guard. But at some point, you're tied down the stretch. Yogi Ferrell, you got it to him every time as Robinson does what he does best. That's like a layup. Yes. Yeah, and I think Indiana's going to be able to overcome that because so many of those guys handle the ball. And another guy playing great is James Blackman, as you saw the other night. Robinson is 3 of 3 from the field, all 3-pointers. Howard misses, and will spread it out and go down the floor. Robinson is going to just camp out behind the 3-point line most of the night. See if he can get that ball and get another one. Ooh, Hauser just wiped out Abdur-Rahman almost unintentionally. If there's one guy that can break the offense when Michigan is moving the ball, and it's for the better, it's this kid, Abdur-Rahman, because he's terrific at getting to the basket. Played really well at the end of last season, his sophomore year. Maybe he doesn't have the green light because it's coming out. Maybe a little dizzy, too. Yeah, that could be. Zach Irvin comes in. Short and a foul. It'll be interesting to see, because Michigan, of the 4 teams here, there's no doubt they're the biggest. And how SMU will deal with the size that they're going to have to deal with. Because they don't have that. They have one guy, and he's not as big as these guys. Well, it's a good point, but let me keep in mind SMU has beaten them the last 2 seasons. Now they've beaten them with a smaller Michigan team. So the challenge for SMU is going to be different than the team they beat last year at Moody Coliseum, and is how to corral those big guys. Well, the one thing I learned today, Ravi, and I said this sincerely, and I think Tim Jankovic said that. You said something, and Tim said it, and I echoed it, that we're, as basketball guys, I've been a junkie my whole life. I'm always learning something about the game. And when we saw those coaches work on footwork today, it just reminded me. Is that a word? Yeah. Probably reminded me. Just reminded you of how important it is to educate your feet and be able to move without traveling.
And it takes a lot of daily practice habits that kids don't want to really, they don't find it fun. But it's important.
Well, the other part of that, as we've seen a lot of travel calls tonight, was the idea that as you watch basketball.
Whoa, look out! Porzingis! The zinger!
Wagner to the hole. Throw that on a SportsCenter top 10 reel. You've got a battle here between Donnell and Wagner.
Oh!
Who's going to get the highlights of the playing time?
He went from Berlin to Dusseldorf. Take a look. Some Wiener Schnitzel. Oh, this kid spent the summer in Ann Arbor. He went home for a few weeks, but he could have played on the German national junior team. He didn't. He stayed in Ann Arbor. He got stronger. John Sanderson, the former Ohio U Bobcat, is their strength coach. Does a great job. And what did he tell us? They put on 30. They put 30 pounds on him, right?
Tell you, between he and Donnell, and you mentioned it, we haven't seen Teskey, who we won't, and Austin Davis, who are also 6'11". But I can see something brewing between Wagner and Donnell.
Yeah, and then this 17 muscles to crack a smile. I'm not sure Wojo's used 17 muscles.
He's turn that frown upside down, my friend. We got another game tomorrow.
It's an early season game. They'll learn from this. You know, they're shooting quickly and they're giving Michigan a chance to run out.
Trailer is Cheatham. He won't get it. And there's going to be a foul on Duncan Robinson. Got a little ragged there for a second. There's that frown on Wojo's face.
Well, we've all been there, especially when you're building a program. Yeah, he said take your 17 muscles and send them where they can be used wisely.
Good turn.
Yeah.
Wondering when the car looked like it was heading towards the wall, but you turned it at the last second.
It's a process, you know, it's a long season. And, you know, I always said this, and maybe it's not true, but I said it, so maybe it is true. But you play 35 games a season, and you play 5 games where you just play out of your mind, right? You play 5 games where you stink the joint up, and the other 25 is who your team is. Sometimes you have that stinker at the worst possible time. And sometimes good teams win when they play poorly. And obviously, this is not a great performance by Marquette tonight.
No, but in the end, whatever the score is, we look at it, and there's still time here, obviously.
Yeah.
You look at it as this was a poor game by Marquette, or this is just a much better team, Michigan.
Well, I think it's always both, but I thought where Marquette really lost their composure in the middle of the first half was when Michigan went on the run, and I thought they played too fast on offense. Quick shots, contested shots.
The 3 from Juwan Johnson. They're not going to be a team that's going to win many games, though, inside.
Right. Right. And what you got to do then, if you're going to be a perimeter team, is move the ball so that you're not taking shots with a hand in your face.
Howard gets called, and Michigan's defense has shown itself. We talked about the wingspan of 73 inches for Robinson. The other guys can also stretch out on D. After Louisville and Houston, you get SportsCenter at night. Nicole and Neil Everett, they'll have the Saints-Panthers highlights. We'll get you the college football story, and all of a sudden the old playoff thing changes dramatically with Louisville getting stomped on. NBA, NHL, NFL news, college basketball, SportsCenter at night after the college football on ESPN. It streams live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. Howard, step back 3, that goes. So they've banged a couple of threes here late. And at 65-49, it's a 10-0 run.
And you just want to keep scratching. Keep scratching and clawing. And John Beilein is going to say, hey, you know what? We can't take the gas off the pedal.
How about the pedal off the gas? Which one?
Take the pedal off the gas. Take the pedal off the gas. Yeah, you figured that one out.
Yeah. You don't say, I mean, you can take the gas off the pedal. I would just as soon focus on the pedal and the gas.
Over
Pittsburgh. Tonight, Michigan has had its way with Marquette, but a little 10-0 run here from Marquette. And some three-point shooting has got themselves still alive with 8 minutes and 16 seconds to go. Madison Square Garden, New York City, and you think about the Big East and its presence here for years with the Big East tournament. Marquette got a pretty good history here at Madison Square Garden in New York City.
Yep, some terrific players. You think of Dean Meminger, Butch Lee. Before that, George Thompson. Bernard Toon was from Yonkers. Coach Al McGuire used to make a living in here. Of course, he was from the city.
Yep.
Played at St. John's.
The other guy I always thought of that had a pipeline to New York City who was coaching down in Georgia was Bobby Cremins. It always felt like he had point guards from New York City.
Yep, Stephon Marbury, John Sally for sure. Of course, he played for Frank McGuire, who had he built the first rep of getting guys to go down south from the city.
Don't forget Kenny Anderson.
Yeah, that's true.
They had a chance to cut it to 14, but the shot was blocked, and Michigan, who had a pretty good play set up out of the break, now does even better. Alley-oop wide open, DJ Wilson.
Well, you got those two big guys right now. You know, it's funny, the city has a nice drive. Yep. City's not producing the players it used to. Ravi, the kids are getting out of here early, going to prep school.
It's not like the city isn't producing basketball players, right? I mean, because they do. Yeah, they do produce basketball players.
They do, but it's still not as many as it used to. A lot of people have moved out of the city and moved down to, you know, living in Texas. You see a lot of people moving to Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, Sun Belt.
Warm climates.
Yep. Cost of living, quality of life.
Why not? Wilson can't follow up the flush with the three. It's funny, you know, you cover baseball and you hear about how baseball is just not existent in the city, and now we're here discussing the fact that some of the basketball players no longer play or develop in the city.
Not like it used to be. Yep, not as much incentive to be a high school coach anymore. Of course, the Catholic League has been so good for so many years.
14-point game. Johnson knocked it out of bounds. We'll take a break. They got a little run in them here. They can make it interesting. They've already done that once. They got on a 14-2 run. They're down 14 now with 6:34 to go. The pride of New York from the 50s and the 70s when the Knicks were really relevant in the NBA. Thanksgiving, Christmas, pretty soon New Year's in Times Square as we now take a look back. SMU between Shake Hamilton, who started kind of slow and then figured it out. We watched Young and Artis do the job for Pittsburgh earlier on this floor.
You like this guy?
I do like this guy.
Shemi Ojale, yep.
Yeah. Shemi Ojale, Shake Milton, they'll be on the floor tomorrow for SMU at 7 Eastern time. Fran, early call though tomorrow, 4:30 for the tip of the Pittsburgh versus what appears to be Marquette game. 4:30.
I'll be ready to go.
1:30 out west.
Yep. 7 o'clock game. I know you don't mind that.
No, I like
early championship game. By the way, SMU has beaten Michigan if Michigan holds on here the last 2 years.
Here's a steal. Be careful now. Cheatham, three ball. Short, and it was a big chance to cut it to 11.
Sure was. Good decision by Honey Cheatham, and Reinhardt just can't knock one down.
That would have been a big three.
See, and this is what you take out of the second half if you're Steve Wojciechowski, is that they're battling, they're scrapping.
They're fronting. You watch Help down low. They're fronting now. Donnell, the big guys were getting a lot of easy buckets early on, and now all of a sudden they've changed their defensive approach a little bit to deny perhaps the ball a little more inside. There's another steal on a bad pass. Just think if they had that three, we're at 11, they'd have another trip down, cut it to single digits. They cannot come up empty with these trips with 5.5 to go, down 14. Howard got tripped. call that on Wilson. Inadvertent, but he tripped him.
Yeah, good minutes for the freshman. Highly thought of. He was actually going to be in the class of 2017, and he graduated early. Had a good relationship with Stan Johnson, the assistant coach, who had been at Arizona State, where he verbally committed.
I haven't called Derek Walton's name a lot. He's 0 for 4. He's got only 3 assists. As the point guard on a team that shows this type of promise, have you seen enough from him to buy into Michigan? Is that a position you'd focus on with Michigan?
I wouldn't worry about it with Derek Walton. He's been essentially a 3-year starter.
Yep.
Played a lot of minutes. Played well last year. He's solid. He really is. He shoots the 3-ball. He's a good decision maker, and he's solid. He's solid enough to win for sure. In fact, tonight he hasn't had to score really.
Step through there, and he throws it into the corner for the 3. And a miss for Michigan, and another chance for Marquette.
Those single figures here with a 3.
They can't get the bucket that you feel like would make it legit.
Yes, but what you do see is them battling back, right?
Yep.
And so you can take something away from that if you're Marquette's coaching staff.
This was a 29-point deficit early in the second half, and we're down to 12. A lot more dribbling for Michigan, and unable to get that ball down low where they made a living in the first half. Long 3, and a backbreaker there. Zach Irvin hits it.
Marquette's had 2 or 3 go in and out. Great looks. And that's the game of basketball right there. That's a shot that he probably didn't want to take and had to. And then Reinhardt just can't buy one.
Rousey and Hauser have not been effective at all from three-point land, and they had both shown the ability early this season to shoot the 3. Hauser looks like he's set to come in. Alley-oop and a finisher.
Well, that's just poor recognition on the backside. Fisher's got to retreat so that the guard can't get by him. Take a look. See, Fisher's got to corral better, but that brings the help. And Cheatham doesn't help on the backside, and we got a highlight.
Friday night doubleheader ESPN. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, the 9-2 Warriors against the 6-5 Celtics, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Then after that's over, we take you to the West Coast, Clippers and Kings. Our coverage will tip with the NBA countdown at 7. It streams live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. Wilson 12 rebounds and now 7 points after that alley-oop.
So in 3 games, he's averaging almost 11 rebounds a game. And this was a kid who came in thinking he had to be a jump shooter. You know, at his size, out of Sacramento, California. He got injured as a freshman. Missed his freshman year with a knee injury. He's filled out. Right now he's 240 pounds. And when you're that big and that agile and athletic, and you play with energy, you can impact the game. The 7'3" wingspan. And, you know, I don't know that he's an NBA player because he's only a sophomore. We're not trying to push him out the door. But in a league of 450 players, there's 30 stars, 420 role players. And a guy 6'11" with that athleticism ought to be thinking about how he can figure out a way to get into that league someday.
I can see that projecting out to the NBA.
Yeah. They're always looking for lane.
He's got some last-second free throw shooting advice from Andrew Dockich on the bench.
No, that's good. I think Andrew Dockich is probably smarter than his dad.
Yeah, well, I think that's the bar's a little low on that, but you're right.
No, in fact, I take that back. He's definitely smarter. Yeah.
Of course, Dan Dockich, who does college basketball for us, Indiana for a long time. That's his son, Andrew.
I think he may be saving, you know, I don't know if he's going to redshirt. I need to ask him that tomorrow, but hope he's smart enough not to be a coach. Hey, you see Andrew? Very good high school player. Dad coached him at AAU. He's played some key minutes throughout his career because of all those injuries. And he is a solid member of this squad for 4 years.
High basketball IQ, which
that usually means
that the apple does fall far.
He's definitely a better offensive player than his father. Father's been milking that Garden Michael Jordan stuff for about 100 years, right?
We love Dan Dockich and look forward to seeing.
We do love Dan Dockich.
Love him.
Yep. Just wish he'd have an opinion on occasion.
Ooh, big time block there from Donnell the other way from Michigan, and a smart pullout from Zach Irvin.
Yeah, right now Michigan is going to milk this clock. Put it on ice. No more 5 count as of last year. Closely guarded with the dribble.
Sandy Cohen III comes in from Marquette. With 2:30 to go here. A reminder tomorrow, 4 o'clock and 7:30. And how about that? Second time tonight we've seen, before the ball's been inbounds, a foul call. So instead of just an inbounds play in the baseline, your guys going to the free throw line, and DJ's sneaking up on a double-double.
Yeah, he's going to sneak up on a lot of teams in the Big 12 this year. And again, when you look at Michigan through John Beilein's career, he's had to play small more often than not at that spot. When Robinson was really a 3-man playing 4, Zach Novak. I know from coaching against John Beilein, some guys have a system that will never change.
Yep.
He's like a mad scientist with the offense, so he'll figure some stuff out to put his players into their strengths.
Players are kind of looking over at the officials, wondering on these travel calls, what did I do? What was the travel part of that?
Part of it, Ravi, and we probably had, 10, 12 maybe in both games. Part of it is that because they've been traveling forever and the officials haven't
away with it.
Yes, yeah, no question. And again, I've talked to some officials who have told me, we're trained to watch the upper body, the contact, the plays at the rim. And we don't watch pivoting in the post and those guys taking 4 steps.
So if they've gotten away with it until college, then they go to the next level
and they get away with it
there.
Yeah.
Well, why the emphasis in college?
I think they're trying to clean it up, But to me, if I'm a coach,
how about that one move from Abdul Rahman?
If there are coaches listening, your offense is not going to work as well if you don't demand footwork every single day. Nice drive right there.
Footwork done with a basketball all the time? Is it done without a basketball?
Well, in terms of basketball, it's definitely done with the ball, and it's simple. It's pivoting. Simply just pivoting on both, being able to pivot on both feet. It's like going through a season and never taking infield practice,
Unfortunately, that happens a lot.
Yeah, well, it shows sometimes.
Yes, it does. How about a shout out to Mike Trout and Chris Bryant? You talk about freshmen in college basketball. How about the youth in baseball?
Yep.
Those are the 2 most valuable players this year. Trout had another phenomenal year, and because he plays on a team that doesn't have success, we just tend to overlook how great he is.
Was he a one-and-done guy?
Yeah. And he traveled a lot, too.
Yeah.
And Bryant and the Cubs, of course, with the magical run of the World Series, he wins the Most Valuable Player award. An easy layup. We've seen Marquette occasionally show that phantom defense and a lead back to 20. John Teskey is now in. He's number 15, and he's the one that went up to try to block that shot. All right, it is now time for Franny to deliver tonight's NBA 2K17 player of the game.
I'm not singing who wears short shorts, but the guy in the short shorts tonight has been everything that John Beilein has wanted from him going into his, third year here as a sophomore, because you're looking at a guy now that's been averaging double figure. Now, okay, you know what Yubi would say, right?
What would Yubi say? Go ahead.
Now, come on. What you love about this kid, okay? You know he's going to get you 11 boards every night, okay? And he's going to rebound at a high rate. And you love the fact that you don't have to throw the ball to him, okay? And he's going to do his job. And every coach in our league would love this guy, okay? Come on. Now we all know this, okay? This is a guy that could have played in the 70s for me when we had Atlanta, okay, in the playoffs every year, winning 50 games with John Drew, okay? Now come on.
Hubie Brown joining us tonight. It's a tricky dribbling and a baseline move blocked there by Helt.
And Matt Helt's giving Wojo some minutes tonight. Pretty solid minutes.
Teskey's looking around. I didn't touch anybody.
That's the penalty for being 7-1 right there. Is any kind of contact is a foul call. And see some of the walk-ons in right now. Well, Sean Lonergan's in there. Brent Hibbets.
Tuesday night, 9:30 Eastern Time, Michigan State and Duke. That's the 29th of November. We look ahead to the big games on ESPN. That's a Sonic Blockbuster game. Sonic Blockbuster games, the biggest games on the college basketball calendar throughout the course of the year, which is why you look ahead to a game like that on the 29th of November, even though today we're sitting here on Thursday the 17th, 1 week before Thanksgiving. Of course, they're getting set here in New York for the Macy's Day Parade.
You mentioned that Fred Wright Jones is out there too. Don't want to not mention the other Wolverine walk-on.
Number 14, Fred Wright Jones, and the rest of them will head back to the bench. Teskey, Fred Wright Jones, Hibbets as well. Our championship is all set. It is going to be SMU and Michigan. And right away, you wonder if SMU, with their now veterans, even though sophomore and Shake Milton, they have the size to deal with Michigan. That's 7 Eastern Time on ESPN2. Do they have the size to deal with it?
They have the size and experience. They sure do. Yep. Should be a fun game.
Our first game, 4:30 tomorrow. 79-61. Beeline's Wolverines get the win over Wojciechowski's Marquette Golden Eagles. Chris Hassel, Seth Greenberg, and Jay Williams busy babysitting for the next 6 minutes in our studio. With Fran Fischilla, Carl Ravitch, our entire crew. Back to you guys.